Is it true? Yeah, it is true. This review is for real. It does actually exist. And yes, it was censored. So that's not good. And yeah, it was negative. So let me just give the background very quickly. Essentially, what happened is the Daily Beast gave an early official review of Superman, and it was, I guess, too negative, and they got scared and frightened and took it down. And presumably, when the time is right, it will reappear. But some sly people got to it too fast, so it's been archived. But again, YouTube and Beast, what it is, I can't really say too many things. I have to be very careful. So I will do something for channel members and be more blunt about what was being revealed. And I will be very fair. I will not even get into some things that might be considered spoilerish, although given the TV spots, it's pretty obvious what they're going to do with the film. But anyway, so what did the N word think? Well, he thought it was terrible, thought too many characters, thought it was way too goofy. And this is where it gets a little weird. He says there's not enough jokes in this, which is hard to believe because there have been a lot of jokes with the trailers and TV spots. I guess what the person means is if you expect that kind of sly gun humor with those quippy lines of dialogue that you see in Peacemaker or Suicide Squad, that ain't showing up. So a lot of people are misrepresenting this guy. So I'm just going to give the lay of the land. Some people are saying he's a Snyder fan. Well, I think if you go through his tweets carefully, he's being ironic. So he is supporting Snyder and the Snyder Cut. He called it really boring, and he thinks Snyder's overrated. And in fact, he's making fun of both Snyder and Gunn in his review. So he's not a Snyder fan. He's not part of the Snyder cult. And apparently he just doesn't like the superhero films. However, he does like James Gunn. To other James Gunn films, he was very positive. So he's not a hater. And these criticisms are now probably very well known to some of the reactions for the trailers and alleged leaks that it's just too bright, too many colors, too silly. It comes off more like a cartoon. It doesn't really have the dramatic heft and weight that it should. There are way too many characters. The film is going to be way too short. It should be only 2 hours to properly deal with everything that Gunn is laying out. But again, this is not from a comic book fan, not from a superhero fan, definitely not from a fan of that kind of cinema. So it's from a fairly hostile point of view. Nevertheless, are these valid complaints? Well, and again, we're not even going to get into this controversy here, but yeah, if you look closely, some of the CGI and special effects are either not complete or they're going to do some things that are visually going to really upset hardcore fans who expect and want Superman to look a certain way, have a certain kind of costume, just be done a certain manner. James Gunn is not going to do that, which is really weird because he took the feedback seriously for the criticisms of Snyder that it was too dark, it was way too dank, not enough colors. They've overcorrected there, but a lot of these complaints, I think, are going to have new complaints that it went too far at that extreme. So, yes, the person did say full on, it is terrible, and the person hopes it will be the death of the superhero genre. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, Sinners made a ton of money recently. That's a superhero director. Other films have done pretty well. Ironically, James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy 3 made quite a lot of good, healthy box office. And just now, Jurassic Park is getting very divisive reviews. I overall did not like the film. I gave it a shot, but it does have some good stuff. But yeah, the quality was fairly weak. It's doing pretty good box office given the negative reviews. So don't cry for Superman. I think the opening and maybe even the second weekend is going to be okay for Superman. They're going to do okay for a while. But yeah, this is definitely a sign of things to come that a huge part of the audience is going to be like, all right, I gave it a shot and I don't want any more of this. I'm done. I don't want any more. I don't want any more Superman. Don't want any super pets. Don't want any Supergirl. I just don't want any super. I'm done. I'm finished. I'm good. Let's move on. I don't care anymore. Now, is that a big part of the audience? Well, that's going to be difficult to determine because people who really hate Snyder really don't know what they're talking about. Again, I'm fine with people who have intelligent criticisms of Snyder, but that's not too many people. So I'll probably be defending James Gunn on many things. Yeah, this thing is going to be very divisive. This thing is going to be very divisive. And the review did confirm many fan theories about what the main plot is, about Lex, about Jimmy. And I think people will be very puzzled. Like, we're spending all this time on Jimmy and certain other characters. I'm going to keep it vague. And they'll be like, why would you do that? Who cares about that? It's really not going to add up for a lot of people. Like, okay, that was a waste of time. I don't want to see that. I don't want to pay for that. It is what it is. But there is some praise. Apparently, Nicholas Hoult will get a lot of praise for his portrayal of Lex, for being faithful to the comics. There are going to be many, many Easter eggs to Superman comics, DC comics, to the animated series. So, again, if you're a hardcore fan, you're going to get a lot of Easter eggs. And apparently, Rachel is going to come off very good as Lois. And there we are. And even Mr. Terrific. There's been a consistency that people who have seen the film early think he was done fine. But overall, yeah, probably a lot of the reviews are going to be fairly negative because, again, they're not familiar with the source material. They don't read comics. They don't like comics. They don't like superhero films. They don't seem to even like films. A lot of film critics just want a certain kind of film to be done. If it's not in that narrow spectrum, they get real panicky, real angry, real fast. And it looks like the N word here is one of those people. They want films to be done a certain mode. It's not like that. They don't like it. They don't like it at all. So how seriously should we take this review? Well, not too seriously, but again, the ironic thing here is James Gunn is trying to appeal to precisely these people. A very general audience that doesn't like comics, doesn't read comics, will never read a Superman comic. He still wants to get those dollars from those people. And I think even those people are going to be like rolling their eyes, like, oh, okay. Because again, the Superman is going to be too much color, too weak, too silly, but ironically not funny enough. And he says outright that David is okay, but compared to Henry Cavill and Christopher Reeves, it's nothing special. I want to be very clear because a lot of people were saying he thought that David was bad. No, he's not saying that David is bad as Superman. It's just not as impressive as these other films, these other adaptations. I think that's going to be the Achilles heel of Superman, is that compared to, well, Superman and Man of Steel, it's going to be bumpy. It's going to be bumpy. A lot of people are going to be like, you traded in Henry Cavill for this. Why did you fire Henry Cavill? Why did you get rid of all of the Snyderverse? We can understand rebooting things, but we started all over and we're actually in a worse place. That said, I do think the future is bright for some of DC. I'm excited for Clayface. I'm excited for Supergirl. The Batman 2 is coming, but it will definitely be very strange that the new DCU's main crown jewel will basically be kind of a joke. It'll be like an embarrassment. And there we are. It'll just be a very embarrassing first step. Will that destroy his universe? I don't know. I think Warner Brothers has a little bit of faith with James. He's not box office champ, right? This is not Tom Cruise. It's going to be very dicey. Yet people were saying the same thing with Brad Pitt, that his career is over. It's done. We have no movie stars. And F1 is doing very, very well in the box office. He's doing just fine. So it can happen that something you think for sure will not work will work. And again, to be fair, Tom Cruise also has some failures. And those failures destroyed a whole cinematic universe. I don't know if Superman underperforming or being a big disappointment is going to end the Gunverse, but this is a very reactive company. It's just not very intelligent. So I think the very barely okay box office is going to really make them think hard about, okay, this really isn't working. We're going to do something even more stupid. That's how we got Joss Whedon's Justice League, which is one of the most horrific pieces of cinema I've ever seen. I was just dumbfounded how bad that was. And Joss Whedon is a genius. So, yeah, we're probably going to go in a circle. They're going to try to reboot, redo even this film again, pathetically, to try to make more money, and it's going to fail miserably, and it's just going to divide the fans even further. And that's the future of Superman, apparently. But yeah, okay, now let me get to the second review real quick. That was not a full review of Superman. I want to be fair, no clickbait. But they did have a short paragraph on Superman making fun of it, and the editors got so nervous, like, no, we got to cut that out. So this is not good that two articles have now officially been censored by editors very nervous that they were too negative to Superman. That is not good. That is not good at all. At all.